Captain Zara Vex stood on the bridge of the research ship Dawn's Edge, watching the stars through the large viewing window. The ship moved quietly through space, carrying her crew of 12 scientists and diplomats home after a successful mission. They had just made contact with a new alien species called the Helios. It was the third new species the Kalani Federation had discovered this year. The Kalani people were known across the galaxy as peaceful researchers. They loved learning about new worlds and new life forms. They had not fought wars for over 300 years. Instead, they spent their time studying the universe and helping other species solve problems with science and diplomacy. Zara felt proud of her crew. The mission to meet the Helios had gone perfectly. The new aliens were friendly and wanted to trade knowledge with the Kalani Federation. Soon, both species would benefit from sharing what they knew about medicine, technology, and art. "Captain," called out Navigation Officer Keelan from his station. "We are entering the neutral zone between sectors 7 and 8. All systems are working normally." Zara nodded. The neutral zone was empty space that belonged to no government. It was usually safe to travel through, but ships had to be careful. Sometimes pirates or raiders used these areas to attack merchant vessels. Science Officer Mira looked up from her computer. "Captain, I am getting strange readings on our long-range sensors. 3 ships are moving toward us from different directions." Zara frowned. 3 ships coming from different directions was not normal. Most traders and explorers traveled alone or in pairs. "Can you identify the ships, Mira?" Mira worked at her console for several minutes. Her face grew worried. "Captain, the ships have Vorth energy signatures. They are Hunter-class vessels." Fear spread through the bridge crew. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Vorth Collective. They were hunters who captured other intelligent beings and sold them as slaves. The Vorth were cruel and violent. They cared only about profit and had no respect for life. "Battle stations," Zara ordered, but she knew it was hopeless. The Dawn's Edge had no weapons. The Kalani had removed all military equipment from their ships centuries ago when they chose the path of peace. The 3 Vorth ships moved closer, forming a triangle around the Dawn's Edge. Each hunter ship was twice the size of the Kalani research vessel. Dark metal hulls covered in weapon ports made them look like hungry predators. Communications Officer Tern tried to contact the approaching ships. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Zara Vex of the Kalani Federation research ship Dawn's Edge. We are on a peaceful scientific mission. Please state your intentions." A harsh voice answered over the radio. "Kalani ship, this is Hunt Leader Krex Thornfang of the Vorth Collective. You will surrender immediately. Your crew will be valuable on the slave markets. Do not resist, and you will not be harmed." Zara felt her heart sink. She had heard of Hunt Leader Krex. He was one of the most feared Vorth commanders. His ships had raided dozens of worlds, capturing thousands of beings to sell as slaves. "We will not surrender," Zara replied. "The Kalani Federation will not allow its citizens to be enslaved." Krex laughed. The sound was cold and cruel. "Your federation is not here, Captain. Only my ships and your helpless vessel. Surrender now or we will take you by force." Zara looked around the bridge. Her crew was scared but determined. They were scientists, not warriors, but they would not give up without trying everything possible. "Mira, send out a distress signal on all frequencies," Zara ordered. "Tell anyone who can hear us what is happening." Mira worked quickly at her station. "Signal sent, Captain, but we are far from any major shipping lanes. Help may not arrive in time." The Vorth ships opened fire. Energy beams struck the Dawn's Edge, but they were set to disable, not destroy. The hunters wanted their prisoners alive and unhurt. Valuable slaves brought higher prices. The research ship shook as the weapons hit. Lights flickered and several control panels sparked. The ship's engines went offline first, leaving them floating helplessly in space. "Hull breach in Section 4, reported Engineer Knox. "Emergency force fields are holding, but we have lost life support in that area." More energy beams hit the ship. The Vorth were being careful not to cause too much damage, but each hit weakened the Dawn's Edge further. Soon the ship would be completely helpless. "Captain," Tern called out, "the Vorth ships are launching boarding pods. They will dock with us in 5 minutes." Zara made a decision. Her crew could not fight the Vorth warriors, but they could hide and make the capture as difficult as possible. All crew to emergency shelters. Seal all bulkheads and activate lockdown procedures. The bridge crew ran to different parts of the ship. The Dawn's Edge had several hidden compartments designed to protect the crew during emergencies. They were not meant to hide from boarders, but they might buy some time. Zara was the last to leave the bridge. She activated the ship's emergency beacon, hoping someone might pick up the signal. As she sealed the bridge door behind her, she could hear the sound of the Vorth boarding pods attaching to the hull. The sound of cutting tools echoed through the ship. The Vorth were burning through the airlocks. Soon they would be inside, searching for the crew with their advanced scanners. Zara reached her hiding spot in a maintenance shaft near the ship's center. Through the metal walls, she could hear heavy footsteps as the Vorth warriors spread throughout the ship. They moved in organized groups, checking every room and corridor. The Vorth were efficient hunters. Their scanners could detect life signs through most materials. The emergency shelters would only delay capture, not prevent it. Search every section. Krex's voice echoed through the ship's communication system. I want all prisoners secured within 1 hour. The Kelani will bring high prices on Vorth Prime. Zara closed her eyes and tried to stay calm. She thought about her crew, all good people who had dedicated their lives to science and exploration. They did not deserve to become slaves to the cruel Vorth. The distress signal was still broadcasting, but space was vast and empty. The chance of another ship being close enough to help was very small. Most species avoided the neutral zones because of pirates and raiders like the Vorth. As the sounds of searching grew closer, Zara wondered if this was how her story would end. She had always hoped to discover new worlds and make contact with new civilizations. Instead, she and her crew would disappear into the dark markets of the Vorth Collective, never to see their home again. The footsteps stopped outside her hiding place. A scanner beeped softly. The Vorth had found her. 3 star systems away, Captain Jake Morrison sat in the pilot seat of his cargo ship Iron Wolf, drinking coffee and reading shipping reports. The ship was old but well-maintained, with thick armor plating and engines that could outrun most military vessels. Jake had spent years modifying the Iron Wolf with technology from dozens of different alien species. Jake was a former Earth military officer who had left the service to become an independent trader. He carried supplies between human colonies and alien worlds, making enough money to keep his ship running and himself fed. It was a good life, even if it could be dangerous at times. The coffee was still hot when the ship's communication system picked up a distress signal. Jake set down his cup and listened carefully to the transmission. This is Captain Zara Vex of the Kalani Federation research ship Dawn's Edge. We are under attack by Vorth hunter ships in the neutral zone. Our position is... The signal included coordinates and a description of the attacking vessels. Jake had met Kalani before. They were peaceful people who helped anyone in need. If Vorth hunters had trapped them, the entire crew would be sold into slavery. The thought made Jake angry. He checked the coordinates. The Dawn's Edge was 2 hours away at maximum speed. Jake could reach them, but his ship would be alone against 3 Vorth hunters. Those were not good odds for anyone. Jake activated his long-range communicator and tried to contact Lieutenant Lisa Hayes, his friend who commanded the human patrol ship Defiant. Lisa's ship was fast and well-armed, but when Jake reached her, the news was not good. Jake, I heard the distress call too. Lisa's voice crackled over the radio. But I am 4 hours away from those coordinates. By the time I get there, those Kalani will be gone. Jake stared at the coordinates on his navigation screen. He was the only ship close enough to help. The Kalani crew would be captured and enslaved, unless someone acted quickly. Lisa, I am going in, Jake said. Maybe I can slow down the Vorth until you arrive. Are you crazy? Lisa replied. 3 hunter ships against 1 cargo hauler. They will blast you to pieces. Jake was already changing course toward the distress coordinates. Maybe, but I have to try. Those Kalani people do not deserve to become slaves. Jake, wait for backup. Do not do anything stupid. But Jake had already switched off the communicator. The Iron Wolf's engines roared as he pushed them to maximum power. The ship shook slightly as it accelerated, racing through space toward the coordinates from the distress call. Jake knew the odds were against him, but he had advantages the Vorth would not expect. Human military training was different from other species. Humans had learned to fight wars against their own kind, which made them very good at thinking of new tactics that surprised aliens. The Iron Wolf was not just a cargo ship anymore. Jake had installed human military computers alongside alien technology. He had weapons that most traders could not afford, and engines that could perform maneuvers no normal cargo ship should be able to do. As he traveled toward the Dawn's Edge, Jake studied everything he knew about Vorth hunter ships. They were fast and heavily armed, but they were designed to capture prey, not fight other warships. The Vorth relied on overwhelming firepower and superior numbers to win their battles. Jake's computer showed him the location where the Dawn's Edge had sent its distress signal. Long-range sensors detected 3 large ships surrounding a smaller vessel. The Kalani ship was not moving, which meant it had been disabled. Jake slowed his approach and activated the Iron Wolf's stealth systems. Human ships had better hiding technology than most alien vessels. If Jake was careful, he could get close without being detected. Through his ship's cameras, Jake could see the 3 Vorth hunters. They were sleek, dark ships with sharp edges and weapon ports covering their hulls. Each ship was about twice the size of the Iron Wolf. Between them floated the Dawn's Edge, its hull scarred by weapon hits. Small craft moved between the ships. The Vorth were transferring prisoners from the Kalani vessel to their own ships. Jake counted at least 12 figures in spacesuits being moved through the airlocks. The entire Kalani crew was being captured. Jake felt his anger grow. These people had been helping other species learn and grow. Now they would spend the rest of their lives as slaves because they had been unlucky enough to meet Vorth hunters in empty space. The Iron Wolf had several cargo holds filled with different types of equipment. Jake had been carrying supplies to 3 different worlds, including some very dangerous items that most captains would not touch. Today, that dangerous cargo might save lives. Jake studied the positions of the Vorth ships. They were arranged in a triangle around the Dawn's Edge, with their strongest weapons pointed toward any ship that might approach. It was a good formation for defending against attack, but Jake was not planning a normal attack. He opened the cargo, manifest on his computer, and smiled. In addition to normal trade goods, he was carrying military-grade explosives for a human mining colony, gravity manipulators for a Kalani research station, and sensor jamming equipment for a defense contractor. Jake had never used all these different technologies together, but human military training had taught him to think creatively. While other species followed standard battle tactics, humans were known for trying new things that enemies did not expect. The Vorth ships seemed to be almost finished loading their prisoners. Soon they would leave for their home systems, and the Kalani crew would disappear forever into the slave markets. Jake activated his ship's weapon systems and prepared his unusual cargo for launch. The Iron Wolf might be just 1 ship against 3 hunters, but Jake had something the Vorth had probably never seen before: human creativity combined with alien technology. He took one last look at the enemy formation and began his approach. The Vorth hunters were about to learn that humans did not fight like other species. They were about to discover why the galaxy was starting to fear and respect Earth's newest children. Jake opened a channel to the lead Vorth ship. "Vorth vessels, this is Captain Jake Morrison of the independent ship Iron Wolf. Release your prisoners immediately." Harsh laughter came back over the radio. "Human, you are alone and outnumbered. Leave now or we will add you to our cargo." Jake smiled and armed his weapons. "I was hoping you would say that." Jake did not charge straight at the Vorth ships like they expected. Instead, he turned the Iron Wolf away from them and began flying in what looked like a retreat. The Vorth hunters watched, but did not chase him immediately. They were busy securing their valuable Kalani prisoners. Hunt leader Krex's voice came over the radio again. "Smart human, run away before we decide to capture you too." But Jake was not running. He was setting up his plan. As the Iron Wolf flew away from the Vorth ships, Jake opened his cargo bay doors and began launching containers into space. To the Vorth, it looked like his ship was damaged and dumping cargo to gain speed. "Look," one of the Vorth officers reported. to Krex. The human ship is leaking fuel containers. His engines must be failing. Krex studied the containers on his sensors. They looked like standard fuel pods that damaged ships often released to prevent explosions. Let him go. We have what we came for. The containers drifted in space, appearing harmless and empty, but Jake had carefully modified each one. Inside the metal shells, human military explosives were connected to Kalani gravity manipulators he had been transporting to a research station. No one in the galaxy had ever combined these two technologies before. Jake flew the Iron Wolf in a wide circle, staying far from the Vorth ships while he prepared for the next part of his plan. He activated a control device that would trigger his special containers when he was ready. The Vorth ships began moving away from the Dawn's Edge, taking their prisoners with them. The largest hunter ship, Krex's flagship, led the formation. The other two ships followed behind, protecting the rear of the group. Jake waited until all three Vorth ships were close to his floating containers. Then he pressed the trigger. The containers exploded in a chain reaction. But these were not normal explosions. The gravity manipulators created distortions in space itself, pulling and pushing matter in directions that defied normal physics. The Vorth ships suddenly found themselves caught in gravitational fields that twisted and spun around them. "What is happening?" Krex shouted as his ship was thrown sideways by forces his crew could not understand. Where did these gravity fields come from? The Vorth ships tried to fire their weapons, but the gravitational distortions bent their energy beams away from their targets. Two of the hunter ships collided with each other as their pilots lost control in the chaotic gravity fields. Jake used this confusion to begin the second part of his plan. He activated systems he had installed from 5 different alien species, combining them in ways their original creators had never imagined. Human engineers were famous for taking technology and using it in completely new ways. The Iron Wolf disappeared from the Vorth sensors. Jake had combined human stealth technology with alien power sources to create a sensor shadow around his ship. To the Vorth, it was as if his ship had simply vanished from existence. Krex's ship was the first to recover from the gravitational chaos. The hunt leader was furious that a single human had damaged his formation. "Find that ship," he ordered. No one makes fools of the Vorth collective, but the Iron Wolf was invisible to their sensors. Jake flew his ship through the confusion, moving between the Vorth vessels like a ghost. He could see them clearly, but they could not see him. Jake positioned his ship next to the Dawn's Edge and activated his docking systems. The Kalani research vessel was badly damaged but still had life support. Jake hoped some of the crew had managed to avoid capture. The airlock sealed between the two ships. Jake put on his spacesuit and entered the Dawn's Edge through an emergency hatch. The ship was dark and quiet, but his scanner detected life signs in several locations. "Hello?" Jake called out. "This is Captain Jake Morrison. I am here to help." A panel opened in the wall, and Captain Zara Vex emerged from a hidden compartment. Her face showed surprise and hope. "You are the human who challenged the Vorth ships?" "That's me," Jake replied. "We need to get your people out of here quickly. My ship can carry everyone, but the Vorth will find us soon." Zara led Jake through the damaged ship to where her crew was hiding. 12 Kalani scientists and diplomats emerged from various hiding places. They looked scared but grateful to see rescue. "How did you make their weapons miss?" asked Science Officer Mira. "And how did you make your ship invisible?" Jake helped them toward his ship. "Human trick. We are good at using technology in ways other people do not expect." As the last Kalani crew member entered the Iron Wolf, Krex's ship found them. The hunt leader had used his ship's most powerful sensors to pierce through Jake's stealth field. "There!" Krex's voice boomed over the radio. "The human is stealing our prisoners. All ships attack that vessel." The 3 Vorth ships turned toward the Iron Wolf, their weapons charging for a killing strike. Jake sealed the airlocks and ran for his pilot seat. The Iron Wolf was fast, but it could not outrun 3 hunter ships while carrying extra passengers. Jake started his engines and pulled away from the Dawn's Edge just as the Vorth weapons fired. Energy beams struck where his ship had been moments before, melting metal and vaporizing debris. "Hold on, everyone," Jake announced to his passengers. "This is going to be rough." The Iron Wolf accelerated quickly, but the Vorth ships were faster. They spread out to surround Jake's ship, cutting off his escape routes. Krex wanted his prisoners back, and he wanted the human who had embarrassed him. Jake studied his navigation screen and smiled. There was an asteroid field nearby, a dangerous region of space filled with floating rocks and debris. Most pilots avoided asteroid fields because they were hard to navigate safely. But Jake had been through asteroid fields before during his military service. Human pilots were trained to fly in conditions that other species considered impossible. If he could reach the asteroids, he might have a chance to escape. The Iron Wolf changed course toward the asteroid field. Behind them, the 3 Vorth ships followed, gaining ground with every minute. Their weapons fired constantly, energy beams flashing past Jake's ship as he dodged and weaved through space. "Captain Morrison," Zara said from behind him, "our ship's computers have very advanced navigation systems. If you need help plotting a course through the asteroids, we can assist you." Jake looked back at her and grinned. "Captain Vex, I think we are going to make a good team." The Iron Wolf raced toward the asteroid field with 3 Vorth hunter ships close behind. Jake pushed his engines to maximum power while energy beams flashed past his ship. The Vorth were angry and wanted their prisoners back. Captain Zara Vex moved to the navigation station beside Jake. "Our sensors can track the safest path through the asteroids," she said. "The Kalani have the most advanced navigation computers in the galaxy." Jake nodded. "Good. I'll handle the flying. You guide us through the rocks." The Iron Wolf entered the asteroid field at high speed. Huge chunks of stone and metal floated in all directions, some as large as buildings. Most pilots would slow down to avoid collision, but Jake kept his ship at full speed. Behind them, the 3 Vorth ships followed into the dangerous field. Hunt leader Krex was determined to recapture his valuable prisoners. He had never been defeated by a single enemy ship, and he would not let a human be the first. "Hunt leader," one of his officers reported, "our ships are too large to maneuver safely at this speed. We should slow down." Krex's eyes blazed with anger. "We will not let them escape. Follow that human ship wherever it goes." Jake flew the Iron Wolf between massive asteroids, using his military pilot training to navigate the narrow spaces. Zara's computer showed him the best path forward, calculating trajectories and safe passages faster than any human could. The combination of human reflexes and Kalani technology worked perfectly. Jake could react instantly to changes in the asteroid field, while Zara's computers predicted where the safest routes would be several minutes ahead. The Vorth ships struggled to keep up. Their larger hulls made it harder to squeeze between asteroids. The lead ship scraped against a floating rock, leaving a long scratch in its armor plating. "They are having trouble following us," Zara observed. "Their ships are not designed for this kind of flying." Jake smiled. "Hunter ships are built to catch prey in open space. They do not expect their targets to fight back with tactics like this." As they flew deeper into the asteroid field, Jake began dropping small devices behind them. The Vorth thought these were navigation beacons or emergency supplies, so they ignored them. Actually, they were explosive charges Jake had been saving for the next part of his plan. The chase continued for another hour. Jake led the Vorth ships through the most dangerous parts of the asteroid field, using passages barely wide enough for his ship to fit through. Several times the hunters had to back up and find different routes when their larger ships could not follow. Krex grew more frustrated with each delay. "These humans think they are clever," he snarled. "But we will catch them eventually. This field cannot go on forever." Jake was thinking the same thing. The asteroid field had limits, and beyond it lay open space where the faster Vorth ships would quickly overtake them. He needed to end this chase while they were still among the asteroids. "Captain Vex," Jake said, "I need you to scan for a specific type of formation. I'm looking for a narrow canyon between 2 large asteroids, preferably with only one way in and out." Zara worked at her computer for several minutes. "There is a formation like that about 20 minutes ahead. 2 massive asteroids have created a canyon space between them. But Captain Morrison, if we fly in there, we could be trapped." "That's the idea," Jake replied. Sometimes the best way out of a trap is to make the enemy think they have you trapped. Jake changed course toward the canyon Zara had found. The Iron Wolf flew around several large asteroids and then headed straight for what looked like a dead end between two enormous rocks. The Vorth ships followed eagerly. Krex laughed when he saw where the human was going. The fool has trapped himself. All ships close in for the capture. This time the human will not escape. The 3 hunter ships approached the canyon entrance, spreading out to block any escape. Croat. Krex wanted to make sure the human could not use any more tricks to get away. Jake flew his ship deep into the canyon, with walls of asteroid rock rising high on both sides. There was only one way out, and the Vorth ships were blocking it. To anyone watching, it looked like Jake had made a fatal mistake. "Captain Morrison," Zara said nervously, "the Vorth ships are entering the canyon behind us. We will be surrounded in a few minutes." Jake activated several control systems on his ship. "Captain Vex, I need you to use your sensors to hide the energy signatures of those explosive charges I dropped during the chase. Can your computers do that?" Zara's eyes widened as she understood Jake's plan. "You want to collapse the canyon on them?" "Yes, our masking technology can hide those energy readings until you are ready to activate them." Jake positioned the Iron Wolf at the far end of the canyon and turned to face the approaching Vorth ships. "When I give the signal, drop the energy. Mask on all the charges at once." The 3 hunter ships entered the canyon, their weapons trained on Jake's vessel. Krex's voice echoed off the asteroid walls. "Human, you have nowhere to run. Surrender now and we will kill you quickly instead of selling you to the slave markets." Jake opened a communication channel to all 3 ships. "Hunt leader Krex, you wanted to know how a human could defeat Vorth hunters. Here is your answer." Jake nodded to Zara. She deactivated the energy mask hiding the explosive charges. Suddenly, the Vorth sensors detected dozens of powerful bombs placed throughout the canyon during their chase. Krex's face showed shock and fear. "Impossible. When did he plant all those explosives?" "While you were chasing us," Jake replied. "You were so focused on catching prey that you forgot someone might be hunting you." Jake triggered the explosives. The charges detonated in a carefully planned sequence, causing massive chunks of asteroid to break loose from the canyon walls. The Vorth ships found themselves in the middle of a controlled avalanche of rock and debris. The smallest hunter ship was crushed immediately by a falling boulder the size of a building. The second ship was trapped against the canyon wall by debris, its engines destroyed and weapons offline. Krex's flagship survived the avalanche but was badly damaged. Hull breaches appeared along its length, and several weapon systems exploded from the impact of flying rocks. Jake flew the Iron Wolf through the chaos using his piloting skills to avoid the falling debris. The asteroid avalanche blocked the canyon entrance, trapping the surviving Vorth ships inside while creating a new exit for Jake's vessel. As they escaped from the collapsing canyon, Zara looked back at the destruction with amazement. "I have never seen tactics like that before. How did you know it would work?" Jake checked his long-range sensors and smiled when he saw new ships approaching. "Humans have been fighting wars against each other for thousands of years. We learned that sometimes the best way to win is to make your enemy think they are winning right up until they lose." The Iron Wolf emerged from the asteroid field just as Lieutenant Lisa Hayes arrived with the human patrol ship Defiant. Behind her came 3 more ships, 2 Kalani Federation vessels, and an independent security contractor responding to the distress calls. Lisa's voice crackled over the radio. "Jake, please tell me you did not just collapse an entire asteroid canyon on those Vorth ships." Jake looked at the destruction behind them and grinned. "Only mostly collapsed. There are still 2 ships alive in there, and they will need rescue before their life support fails." The rescue fleet moved carefully into the debris field that had once been a canyon. They found Krex's flagship trapped under massive rocks, its hull cracked and systems failing. The second surviving hunter ship was completely disabled, its crew unconscious but alive. Captain Zara Vex stood beside Jake on the Iron Wolf's bridge watching the rescue operations. "Hunt leader Krex is demanding to speak with you," she said. "He cannot believe he was defeated by a single human ship." Jake activated the communication system. On the screen, Krex's face appeared, showing anger and confusion. The Vorth commander's ship was badly damaged, and his crew was being evacuated by the rescue vessels. Human, Krex growled. I have hunted prey across 100 worlds. My ships have captured thousands of beings. How did you defeat my hunters? Your species is new to the galaxy. You should not know such tactics. Jake looked calmly at the alien. Commander. You hunted prey, Krex. I hunted you. There is a difference between catching helpless victims and fighting someone who fights back. Krex's eyes widened as he understood. You planned this from the beginning. The retreat, the explosives, the canyon, all of it was a trap. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years, Jake explained. We learned long ago that the best victories come from making your enemy defeat themselves. You were so sure you were the hunters that you forgot someone else might be hunting you. The Vorth commander was silent for a long moment. Finally, he spoke again, his voice filled with grudging respect. I have underestimated your species, human. The Vorth collective will remember this lesson. Jake nodded. Tell them this too, Krex. Humans do not like bullies who pick on peaceful people. If the Vorth want to hunt, they should find prey that can fight back. The communication ended as Krex's ship was taken in tow by the rescue vessels. The hunt leader and his surviving crew would be taken to a secure facility to await trial for their crimes across multiple star systems. Captain Vex turned to Jake with amazement in her eyes. In all my years of studying different species, I have never seen tactical thinking like yours. The way you combined human strategy with our navigation technology was incredible. Jake helped coordinate the transfer of the rescued Kalani crew back to their Federation ships. As they prepared to leave, Vex made an official request. Captain Morrison, the Kalani Federation would be honored to have you escort our research missions. We have learned that sometimes peaceful species need allies who understand how to deal with those who would harm us. Other species had been monitoring the battle through long-range sensors and communication intercepts. Word of Jake's victory spread quickly through the galactic communication networks. A single human cargo captain had defeated 3 Vorth hunter ships using tactics no one had seen before. Within days, Jake began receiving messages from dozens of different species. Trading companies wanted him to protect their ships. Scientific expeditions requested his services as a guard. Even military organizations asked for advice on human tactical methods. The story of the battle became legendary across the galaxy. Jake Morrison, the human who hunted hunters, became a symbol of Earth's growing reputation as protectors of the innocent. Pirates and raiders began avoiding ships that traveled with human escorts. Lisa Hayes visited Jake before returning to her patrol duties. You realize what you have started, do not you? She said. Half the galaxy is going to want human protection now. Jake was already planning his next cargo run. His ship was booked solid for months with escort missions and protection contracts. Maybe that is not a bad thing, Lisa. There are a lot of peaceful species out there who just want to explore and learn. They deserve to do that without fear of Hoyan. Kalani Federation opened formal talks with human colonies about military cooperation agreements. Other peaceful species began similar discussions. The galaxy was learning that humans brought a unique combination of tactical skill and moral conviction to conflicts. Captain Zara Vex returned to Kalani space with her crew and a detailed report on human capabilities. Her final entry became required reading at the Federation Academy. Humans may be new to the galactic community, but they possess something many of us have forgotten during our long years of peace. They have the warrior's heart tempered by the protector's soul. They do not fight for conquest or profit, but to defend those who cannot defend themselves. In Captain Jake Morrison, we have seen the future of galactic security, not through overwhelming force, but through superior thinking and unwavering moral courage. Jake Morrison continued his work as an independent trader, but now his cargo holds often carried more than trade goods. They carried hope for species that had lived in fear of raiders and slavers. The human who had once fought wars for Earth was now fighting a different kind of war, a war to make the galaxy safe for those who chose the path of peace. Across the star systems, the story was told and retold. Aliens trapped by hunter ships had been saved when the human arrived. It became a legend that inspired the peaceful and struck fear into those who preyed on the innocent. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humans were not just another species joining the interstellar community. They were guardians, protectors who would stand between the wolves and the sheep no matter what the odds. And in the asteroid field where the battle had taken place, salvage crews found something interesting among the wreckage. Painted on a piece of debris from Krex's flagship were words in human English. "You hunted prey. I hunted you." It became a warning that spread throughout the criminal networks of the galaxy. The age of easy prey was ending. The humans had arrived.